Have you ever walked straight into a room in your house, looked at the clutter piling up on the counters, and felt that immediate heavy wave of tiredness before you even try to do a single thing about it? Maybe it isn't a physical room at all. Have you noticed that your mind can feel the exact same way lately? Like you carry the leftover stress, the unfinished decisions, the emotional static of yesterday into a brand new season of life that was supposed to be your ultimate fresh start? Why is it that even when we finally have the freedom we always wanted, we still feel crowded and cramped on the inside? Welcome back to the Ignite Retirement Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Hennessy, the Retirement Igniter. Today, we're completely stepping away from rigid schedules, complex charts, and heavy step-by-step formulas. Instead, we're going to sit down for a real honest living room style conversation about something every one of us desperately wants if we truly want to smile and thrive on this second mountain of life. We're talking about the art of the clean slate. We're going to explore why our minds get blocked by what lies behind us and how to intentionally clear the deck so that we can actually enjoy the beautiful things right in front of us. To understand what a clean slate really means, I want to invite you inside a place where I spend a lot of my time and my creative focus, my garage. I absolutely love working with wood. There's something deeply satisfying about taking an old discarded piece of furniture or a vintage radio cabinet and restoring it to its former glory. But here's the plain reality of a workshop. When you're in the middle of a project, things get incredibly messy. It's chaotic. It's a beautiful disaster. You've got sawdust flying and coating every single surface like a fresh winter snow. You've got wood scraps under your feet, sandpaper discs scattered around, and half-empty bottles of glue sitting right where you last dropped them. Tools are everywhere: screwdrivers, chisels, clamps. They're all buried under huge piles of wood shavings. That mess is fine. In fact, it's a real sign of progress. It means that work is being done, that creativity is flowing, that things are happening, but I don't build on top of the clutter that developed during the last project. Think about how crazy it would be if, after finishing a big build, I dragged a beautiful fresh piece of raw wood into the shop, threw it down on top of a pile of old screws and sharp wood shards and tangled cords and tried to start building something delicate and new. What would happen? I'd be tripping over my own past the entire time. I'd end up using the wrong tools because the right ones are buried under a pile of old debris. My cuts wouldn't be clean because the workbench isn't level. And worst of all, my mind would be totally distracted by the visual noise around me. I wouldn't be focusing on the beauty of the new wood. So before a single pencil line is drawn on a new project, before a single blade touches the wood, I execute a total reset. I turn on the vacuum cleaner. I sweep up every single grain of sawdust. I wipe down the workbench until I can see the grain of the wood underneath. And I pick up every chisel, hammer, and small part and put them exactly where they belong on the wall. Why do I do it? Because when I walk into the shop the next day and I open the door and flip on the lights, I'm greeted by an appealing, pristine, wide open workspace. It completely changes how I feel physically. It clears that mental fog and it gives me breathing room. It allows me to look at the raw materials of that next project and think with completely new eyes. It makes me excited to get creating again. Now let's roll up the garage doors and look honestly at our own lives. How many of us try to build a beautiful retirement while at the same time we're trying to construct it directly on top of the unorganized clutter of our past careers? Think about that mental workbench you're operating with right now. You transitioned out of a full-time job, but you're still trying to carry that residual corporate stress. You're still carrying the old defensive habits, the fast pace, the urgent need to constantly check your phone, or maybe some lingering disappointment from your final years in the workplace clouds your thinking. We try to start a new project, maybe relax time with a spouse, or picking up a new creative hobby, or establishing a new healthy routine. But our internal workspace is so piled high with heavy tools and leftover scraps from our previous identity that we can't find our footing. We're trying to build a season of peace using the frantic tools of a season of pressure. If we want a true fresh start, We need to do what a craftsman does when a major build is over. We need to intentionally pause. You can't just jump from one high-speed track straight into the next without sweeping that floor. This is where we have to practice the art of what I like to call reflect and release. Reflecting means we look back at the massive decades-long project that was your career. We look at the mess on the bench and we say with gratitude, what did I learn here? What are the tools, the wisdom, the great relationships, the core character that I actually want to keep for my next build? And then comes the truly freeing part. Release. That's the act of clearing that workbench. It's looking at the old corporate titles, the need for external validation, the old anxieties, the rigid schedules, and deciding to toss them straight into the scrap bin. You're letting them go. You're saying that served a purpose in that old project, but it doesn't belong on my workbench today. When you clear the slate, you aren't pretending your past didn't happen. You aren't erasing your history. You're honoring it by preparing a clean, respectful space for the magnificent things you're about to create next. I had a friend, let's call him Dave. He retired after 35 years in management. He was incredibly excited to have open calendar pages. He said, I'm going to travel, I'm going to paint, I'm finally going to get to relax. But a few months into his retirement, I saw him at a local coffee shop and he looked exhausted. His shoulders were tense and he was staring at his laptop screen. And I asked him, how's the painting and traveling going? And he sighed and said, I haven't even bought a canvas yet. I ended up joining 3 different volunteer committees. I'm managing a neighborhood project, and I'm feeling just as stressed as when I was working 60 hours a week. Do you see what Dave did? He stepped out of his career and he walked straight into his new life and immediately piled the old clutter right back onto his workbench. He didn't know how to operate without an empty space, so he filled it with the exact same type of heavy obligation and stressful dynamics he had just escaped. He didn't give himself permission to experience that clean slate. It was only when he stepped back and resigned from all that extra stuff that wasn't truly bringing him joy and cleared his schedule that he could finally see his new path clearly. Today, he's actually painting, but he had to clean the bench first. So how do we practically apply this to our lives every week? If you feel like your mental space is crowded, I want to give you 3 specific upbeat steps to start sweeping the floor today. First, identify those leftover tools. What's a habit or a mindset that made you incredibly successful in your career, but is actually causing you noise and clutter in your retirement? Is it the need to control every single hour of the day? Is it looking at every conversation as a transaction? Recognize that the project is officially done and put it away, set it aside. Second, create a physical boundary. Sometimes our physical environment mirrors our internal state. If your home desk is piled high with old professional papers and your closet is packed with formal clothes for a job you no longer go to, clear it out. Give it away. Store it. Give yourself a beautiful visual reminder of an open workspace. Third, get comfortable sitting with the empty bench. This is often the toughest one for high-achieving people. When I clear my workshop, there's always a quiet moment where the bench looks totally empty, and it feels strange at first. In life, when we clear away the constant busyness, we're met with silence. Don't rush to fill it immediately with random new clutter just to feel useful. Sit with the blank space for a moment. Let your mind adjust to the quiet so that you can see what truly deserves to be built next. Give yourself permission to have a clean slate. You don't owe anything to that old clutter. As we close things out today, I want you to take a close look at your internal workbench. Step back. Take a breath, a deep, refreshing breath, and realize that you have the absolute power to sweep away what was and to make room for what can be. Allow yourself to see your future with entirely joyful eyes. If this conversation hits home and you want to dive deeper into how we can clear out the noise and build a truly magnificent next season of life, make sure you're subscribed to the Ignite Retirement Substack. We're growing an incredible community of folks who are refusing to just settle into retirement. We're actively igniting it. So until next time, Keep your workbench clean, your mind open, and remember that your absolute best days are still ahead of you. I'm Bill Hennessy, and I'll see you right here on the next episode.